Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for watching once again. Thanks for visiting Kingdom Knowledge. We're going to take a closer look at these seals that are being opened, starting with the first seal, verse 1 in Revelation 6. And I don't know if you remember in the past video, I mentioned that this first verse is interesting because some people, Christians, are not in agreement as to who is actually riding the white horse. Some say it's Christ, Jesus Christ, or better said, Jesus the Christ, and some say it is the Antichrist. So let's read it real quick. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. So you could see how some might think that this could be Jesus the Christ. It's not as easy to see why some might think that this would be the Antichrist. So let's do some research, or follow along with me to see my research. And we'll start here with this little article about the true identity of the rider on the white horse by Michael F. No real last name, I guess, just F. Anyways, it's interesting. It did, I think, a good job in their explanation here. And it starts and it says, Revelation 6:1 says, basically what we just read. I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. Another translation says a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer, in KJ. There are 3 different interpretations of this rider. One long-established interpretation understands this of the victorious progress of the gospel, the rider on the white horse being Christ, as in Revelation 19:11. The Zondervan NIV Bible commentary puts forth the dominant evangelical view today that it is the Antichrist. The commentator admits that the symbolism of the white horse is always associated with righteousness and Christ, but rejects it because the other 3 horses clearly represent war and judgment. He goes on to say, the reference in 19 verse 11 through 16 to the rider on the white horse as faithful and true, and as one who judges and makes war with justice, stands in contrast to the rider in 6:2, that's Revelation 6:2, who is not faithful or true, and who wages war for unjust conquest. Moreover, the Lamb opens the seal and would not be one of the riders, nor would it be proper to have an angelic being call forth Christ. Again, a bow would most naturally be connected with the enemy of God's people. Ezekiel 39 verse 3. The evidence, however, seems to favor the Antichrist and his forces that seek to conquer the followers of Christ. In the Wycliffe Bible Commentary by Moody Press, first published in 1962, also says it cannot be Christ because of the other three horses, and quotes another commentary saying, "Can there be any doubt that it is the vision of Antichrist? It so resembles the real Christ that it deceives the people, even many a reader of this passage." So, in other words, the people who read this passage just by reading it is confused and deceived, according to Wycliffe Bible Commentary. The above opinion use enormous quantities of faulty reasoning. There is no justification for associating the first seal with the Antichrist just because of the other three seals. At no point does it say that the rider of the white horse is not faithful or true, or that he wages war unjustly. Nowhere. The Bible contains many passages with references to many different things, all mixed together. One sentence could refer to the first coming of Christ, and the next sentence could be referred to his second coming. This is why we are told to rightly divide the scriptures. The context of the surrounding verses is very important, but the other three horses do not ride out of the first seal. They are clearly separated by being placed into four separate seals. In taking the other seals into account, they are ignoring the symbolism of the first seal, the white horse. The book of Revelation is a symbolic book. To discount the symbolism in favor of anything else is departing from any chance of understanding the passage. Alright, so that's one point of view. This paragraph I just read is basically saying that the explanation to try and say that the Antichrist is riding on the horse is not correct, and they're saying it is Christ. Now, let's look at bow and arrow symbolism. The symbolism of the bow and arrow, to see if that gives some insight as to whether or not this is the Christ or the Antichrist. And this is from the Forerunner commentary. Okay, the white horse and the crown bowman on its back embodied the first seal of Revelation 6, 1 through 2, are all about religious communication. Like his fellows, this horseman has nothing benign about him. He goes out conquering and to conquer. He is the one who commences, some would say ultimately caused the beginning of sorrows. Matthew 24, verse 8. That results in the death of a quarter of the earth's population. Revelation 6, verse 8. Biblically, white is an interesting color. In our day, it is immediately associated with cleanliness and purity. As all advertisers know, marketing a cleanser that is itself white or comes in predominantly white packaging helps to convince the consumer that the product is effective. However, an ancient Israelite might not see white that way. In Leviticus, white appears as the color of leprosy more than a dozen times. In Genesis chapter 40, verse 16, white baskets presage the death of Pharaoh's baker. And in Joel 1, verse 7, it is the color of a land strip bare by an enemy. Conversely, at other times it represents the most positive association we are accustomed to. In Ecclesiastes 9, verse 8, Solomon writes, "Let your garment always be white," which most commentators feel refers to the joy, purity, and beauty of a righteous, godly individual. The Shulamite describes her beloved, a type of Christ, as white, implying his spotless and holy character. Similarly, Daniel sees the Ancient of Days clothed in a garment, white as snow, and with hair like pure wool. Daniel 7:9, reminiscent of John's description of the glorified Christ in Revelation 1:13 through 16.